Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. We've got another Vomero head-to-head for you. This time we are putting Nike's new Max Stack Daily up against one of New Balance's most popular regular mileage shoes in the New Balance 1080 V14. If you're after a comfortable, cushioned, big mileage shoe that can cater for a lot of your weekly miles, these two may well be on your list. Which one would suit you best and which one do we rate the highest? That's what we're about to reveal. So let's get into it in our Nike Vomero 18 versus New Balance 1080 V14 head-to-head. Quick details then, starting with the stack height, and the New Balance 1080 V14 drops in at 38 mils in the heel, 32 mils in the forefoot for a 6 mil drop. The Vomero packs a considerably bigger stack and larger offset with 46 mils in the heel, 36 mils in the forefoot for a 10 mil drop. When it comes to weight, the New Balance 1080 V14 has put on a bit of weight over the last generation. In our US men's 9.5, UK 8.5 test shoe, it now tips the scales at 10.1 ounces or 285 grams. The Vomero 18 in a US 9.5, UK 8.5 is 11 ounces or 310 grams. On price, you're going to pay more for the 1080 V14, which sits firmly in the mid-range bracket for a daily trainer at $165 or £160. The Vomero lands at a proper good value, £135 in the UK or $150 in the US. Let's get into that shoe comparison then, and the Vomero 18 now packs a bigger plusher 46 mil stack. That's up from 40 mils in the Vomero 17. You've got a dual foam setup that uses foot length layer of ZoomX foam on top and a bottom layer of React X. There's also quite a pronounced rocker that targets smooth transitions and energetic toe-offs. The New Balance 1080 V14 also tweaked its ride. The rockered midsole here is cut from Fresh Foam X. There's some increased stiffness to the forefoot that's there also to help with the toe-off, and the midsole feels like it's now tuned slightly firmer than the previous 1080 V13. Up top, both of these shoes combine kind of soft and flexible engineered sort of breathable mesh uppers with highly padded heel collars and cushioned gusseted tongues. All of that's pretty much on a par in terms of that overall plush comfort for those daily miles. When you flip them over, there is a healthy covering of outsole rubber on both to boost the grip and durability. The 1080 V14 has moved to a two-piece forefoot outsole with this kind of horseshoe ring and a bit down the middle. It's got a couple of pads at the back to take care of the landing zones. The Vomero breaks up the outsole. Again, we've got this sort of horseshoe ring, got a bit in the middle here. Got a ring of pads at the back with some studs here to boost the grip. There's quite a bit of wear going on in the heel of the Vomero. The New Balance 1080 sort of seems to be quite fine so far though. When it comes to fit, I ran in my regular New Balance size, which is a UK 8.5. That's a US 9 in this 1080 V14. I did a UK 8.5, US 9.5 in the Nike. The New Balance 1080 V14 comes up quite short in the toe box for me. It's notably more snug with a touch less flex than you'll get in the Vomero. It's just a bit more cramped across the top of the foot and the midfoot particularly. That's something you notice if, like me, you've got quite high feet and wide feet. For me, the Nike has a balanced comfort and hold without excessive plushness from the medium padded heel collars and tongues. There's plenty of flex in the uppers too, a bit more than I get in the 1080 V14. It's generally an easy, roomy, unrestricted feel for the Vomero. I think some may want to consider going half a size up in the 1080 V14, but I would recommend going true to size in the Vomero 18.
So into fit, and I think the first thing to mention here is if you've got wider feet and you're a little bit concerned about how these shoes might fit, then the New Balance 1080 V14 does have extra width fit options. This is the standard fit that I've got here, but you've also got a wide and extra wide option as well. So if that is something that you're worried about, then you're getting more options there. The Nike Vomero 18, just the one fit option, but I would say that it is very accommodating. Now, I've got pretty skinny, narrow feet, so generally, lots of shoes are going to feel very accommodating. These are naturally very roomy shoes, particularly up front of those toe boxes. Offer similar space up front of those toe boxes, I would say. So, generally roomy without feeling overly roomy. Get into the middle section of these shoes. I think the midfoot hold is a little bit more snug on the 1080 V14 compared to the Vomero 18. But that doesn't cause any issues in terms of the fits overall in the Nike shoe. The laces and the tongue combinations, very similar. Similar level of padding in those tongues. Lockdown or getting a good lockdown hasn't been an issue in either of these shoes, and it's definitely good comfort on the top of your foot on both of these shoes. Similar story with the level of padding you're getting in the heel collars. I've had no kind of heel rub, no irritation. You are getting a kind of heel collar that kind of extends at that Achilles area a little bit more on the 1080 V14. So if that's something that you like, then you're going to get that there on the 1080 V14. But overall, I've been very happy with the sizing on both of these shoes. As I said, naturally very roomy shoes, even that kind of standard fit option on the 1080 V14. But if you are looking for something that suits wider feet and it's going to be a more kind of reliable fit for those kind of, you know, kind of people with wider feet, then the 1080 V14 would be the one to look at.
Now in testing, I've run well in excess of 50 miles in both of these shoes. I've put them through everything from easy 90 minutes, progressions, and some faster miles. In terms of versatility, I think they can handle quite a lot. I like the changes to the 1080 V14. It's back to being marginally firmer with a bit more stiffness in the outsole and some additional resilience that I think kind of smooths out the transitions and makes the ride a bit more immediate than you got with the softer 1080 V13. There's now a bit of a quicker response with the foam returning faster. I still think it ticks all the boxes for a plush and softer kind of max cushioned comfort shoe. It's notably softer as well than the Vomero 18. So if you like that really cushioned feel, the 1080 V14 might be the one to go for you. It's a very capable easy day recovery options, but there's also some swifter pace potential too. It's obviously lower to the ground than the Nike shoe as well. So if you're a fan of shoes that are a little lower profile, I think you'll notice that as well. Though I don't think the Nike Vomero 18 feels as max stack as the profile suggests it should. There's an interesting point about this shoe. Overall, I prefer the fit and easy comfort of the Nike Vomero 18. It's a really easy shoe to whack on for any kind of run. The 1080 V14 probably has a bit more cushion bounce to it. The Nike Vomero 18 still offers ample cushion, but there's more overall immediacy to this shoe as well. And I find it's a quicker returning shoe than the 1080. There's a bit more control to it overall. The 1080 is obviously slightly lighter as well. Though again, I don't think the Vomero 18 sort of runs as heavy on the foot as it sort of suggests it should from what you get on the scales. Both of these shoes as well, I think interestingly, can move up the gears if they have to. When you do that, I think the 1080 offers more cushion than spring. The Vomero 18 isn't without life, but it's a bit more subtle, maybe somewhat more kind of stable too. Though I find both of these are wide enough in the platforms to feel reliable underfoot.
So into that run test, I definitely describe these two shoes as cruiser style shoes. You're not going to necessarily use these shoes or get the best experience from your faster runs, but I think in terms of easy runs, slightly picking up the pace over that kind of easy pace, and also those longer runs where you want comfort, where you want a kind of riding experience that is pretty smooth, pretty stable, also has a kind of, you know, a feeling where you are really ticking over nicely in that kind of run, then absolutely these are shoes that will do that, and I think have similar qualities to do that. There is a difference in the weight of these two shoes, but I don't think it has a huge bearing in terms of the experience. The 1080 V14 is the lighter of the two, but I think the Vomero 18 handles its extra weight absolutely fine. It doesn't feel like a heavy shoe to run in. While the 1080 V14 is heavier than the 1080 V13, again, I don't think it's a heavy shoe to kind of get out in. There's a little bit more going into it in terms of you get into those midsoles, the rise and the experience that delivers. The 1080 V14, it's definitely the softer feeling of the two. It's not super plush compared to some other shoes, but compared to the Vomero 18, definitely feels softer in terms of what you're getting underfoot. And what I think that allows is, you know, if you prefer that kind of softer feel in your midsole, then that's what you're going to get on the 1080 V14. It doesn't create an unstable kind of ride, I would say, particularly because you've got these kind of sidewalls in there to kind of really balance out and make sure that you're getting something that really kind of cradles and make sure that you're getting something that doesn't feel too wild or too aggressive and too, you know, you start to tire in this shoe that you're going to get something that's going to feel a little bit awkward to run in. You're getting a kind of nice rebound in that midsole as well too, a good rocker in there as well. It's not massively pronounced, but it definitely is enough to kind of smoothly kind of take you kind of from heel to toe in a very kind of consistent and reliable fashion. Now, similar qualities in the Vomero 18. Now, you're getting that from a dual density kind of midsole makeup. There's Zoom X to bring that bounce and a similar level of rebound as the 1080 V14. You've got that React X providing that kind of controlled feel that I think the sidewalls and the kind of design of the 1080 V14 gives you as well. But it's still, I think what I found is like it's a slightly firmer feel. It's not firm in any kind of horrible way, but it definitely feels firmer compared to the 1080 V14. Now, I think that just allows it to feel a little bit nicer on those slightly more moderate pace runs And again, I think you're getting a similar rocket experience to the 1080 V14. And I think, again, when you're doing those long runs, it's a very nice shoe to just kind of tick over very nicely. And it is a very stable shoe. I think it's a very broad shoe naturally. And I think that's what you get from the Vomero 18. When you get into kind of outsoles, there are differences. They're covering similar areas, kind of lateral areas of the heel, a little bit more of the forefoot. There is definitely more rubber and a little bit more going on in that design on the Nike Vomero 18, and I'd feel more comfortable going and running slightly off-road in the Vomero 18 compared to the 1080 V14. There's not a huge amount of rubber there. There's good protection, but I think this is mainly built to kind of stick to pavements and roads. I think you do that in the Vomero 18. I think if it gets wetter, I think it's going to probably handle conditions better. But again, I think it's going to give you a little bit more. If you want to wander off in parks into those lighter trails, the Vomero 18 is going to give you that. So I think these are two shoes, as I said, I would use for the same types of runs. I think excel in the same kind of, fashion on, based on my experience and the qualities they give you in terms of that ride and, what you're getting in those kind of midsole makeups. Maybe slight differences in the outsole, slight differences in the weight, which may sway you for going one over the other. But I think, I think the two shoes I've enjoyed for the same types of.
Onto that verdict then, and I would reach for both of these shoes for the same kinds of runs. That would be everything from easy up to around marathon pace, which they can handle at a push, though I would definitely say they're better moving slower to middling pace. They're both very good shoes in their own right, and I would happily use either of them for those types of runs. For those easy daily miles, they're absolutely bang on, and I enjoy them. I think the way that I'd separate these boils down to a few things. I think the Nike has better easy comfort in the uppers. I find the fit a bit more accommodating and a bit more natural. I think the New Balance is a bit snug, comes up a bit tight on me. Now, I know if I went US sizing, that would be different, but I do switch. Some New Balance shoes fit me in a UK 8.5, some don't. Now, the ride of the Vomero 18 is firmer. The 1080 V14 has much more kind of sinky, cushioned edge to it. Springs back nicely, but if you like a less compressive midsole, I think the Vomero 18 is the shoe to choose. If you want softer cushion, go for the New Balance. Because I tend to use these shoes for similar efforts, I think a lot of my choice here will come down to the price, and I can use the Vomero 18 to cover everything that I'd run the 1080 V14 in, but they're a chunk cheaper. So for me, really just on that value, I think the winner here is the Vomero 18.
So my takeaway is you should go for the New Balance 1080 V14 or the Nike Vomero 18. Now I think these are both very solid, no-nonsense kind of daily trainer options. And if you're looking for a good shoe for your kind of daily runs, those kind of easy to moderate pace runs, and also for your long runs, these two shoes absolutely fit the bill. Now if I had to pick between the two, and given they do work for the same types of runs, I think from a value point of view, I would be going for the Nike Vomero 18. I think it works, as I said, for the same types of runs as the 1080 V14 for less money. I do slightly prefer the slightly firmer feel that you get on the Vomero 18, which I think feels or makes it a little bit more comfortable to run slightly more up tempo in that shoe, despite being the slightly heavier shoe as well. There are reasons to go for the 1080 V14, and I think it will work for the same types of runs as the Vomero 18 as stated. I think if you like a softer feel underfoot, then that's what the 1080 V14 is going to give you. I think if you are a little bit unsure in terms of the kind of fit of these two shoes and you've got wider feet, then the 1080 V14 would be the smart kind of option to go for. It does have those extra width fit options. And I think, that will make sure that you get something that's going to work for you in terms of that extra room. So there are reasons to go for the 1080 V14, but I think in terms of what I've felt in terms of that kind of slightly kind of faster or kind of more tempo running time than the Nike Vomero 18, and also from a price point of view, I'd be going for this shoe. I'd be very happy running it in this shoe for the same types of runs as well.
So there you have it. That's been our head-to-head between the New Balance 1080 V14 and the new Nike Vomero 18. Hope it helps you pick a shoe that's right for you. Do us a favour and hit like if you did. If you're enjoying the content on the channel and you've not already subscribed, please hit subscribe. Definitely helps us keep going, keep making more content for you. If you're interested in good daily trainings, I'm going to pop a video up on the channel that you should go and watch now. Otherwise, as ever, thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with us. We do appreciate it. And until we see you next time, in the meantime, happy running, people.